What's up, everyone? Let me know if you can hear me. Um, it's what day is it? It's Thursday. We haven't done these. We haven't done one of these in a while. Tough day, tough freaking day here, right? We can take a look at some of this stuff. I do like the longs. I like still in some of these longs here on Nas and the S&P that we were talking about with the team earlier on. But really tough movement throughout the beginning of the session, right? We end things off on the overnight into all-time highs, right? We get this large expansion into all-time highs. We close pretty much at the peak, right? We close pretty much at the peak of the overnight session, and what that generally tells us is that there's a high probability that all that low volume actually crumbles, and you're most likely going to see a decent reversal to find better buyers at lower prices. Now, one of the things that I really don't want to see if the buyer is strong is a move all the way back into the prior all-time high, into the prior distribution top, which happens to be 25,030 here, because there's a chance that they either just collapse or they head fake through it, which makes it a lot harder for me to trade, honestly, because we had this move on both S&P and NASDAQ that broke this area, right? They come down off the open. That's to be expected. You have some weak volume that's just pumping and pumping, some news that helps the overnight just momentum keep going. If it's bullish, they need to just like grab the bid right away and just start going from there. But realistically, the breakdown over here and the false moves under this 040 area, that's what got me on the NASDAQ, right? Once you get the failed moves lower and they bid back up, for instance here, in this spot, once they re-offer lower, the idea is sell into the negative delta, right? This block of negative delta. Okay, they don't make new lows. When they bid back up, what's the idea? Buy into the negative delta. So that's what we did, but I was on getting kind of whipped around on both sides there. It's the same thing with the S&P. S&P over here, these guys, they managed to come down to the auction top. Usually this is a big no-no to buy back into that spot after we get the expansion to the upside swing. That's very large. Coming back into that balance top is usually a no-no for the buyer, and then you get the head fake, you start bidding back up. That was the long idea. See if they can continue on back into all-time highs, right? It's pretty far from all-time highs, about like 20 points on the S&P. NASDAQ, we got about 90 to go. You're getting some absorption on NASDAQ into, like, very close to the camera in my face, right close to the 080, right? You have a huge positive delta block that was just getting, like, absorbed in the morning. 085 area, right? Huge absorption there that created this downside move. Now that we're above it, right, the buyer wants to sustain momentum into that swing higher to see if things can actually hold out. So I like the longs, right? I think that as long as you hold 070 to 080 on NASDAQ, the longs can continue. As long as you're holding above like 60 on the SPOOs, I think the longs can continue and potentially go and break into highs, right? I don't necessarily get too bearish or immediately bearish until we break back under that 080 on the NASDAQ. Like, you can take a look at what the actual profile looks like on the day, right? Super thin up here. You start breaking 25,100, very thin volume that would allow prices to expand into a easy area, right? Maybe we tag 140 where there's a bunch of negative delta up there. Come on YouTube every Wednesday. How demanding. How dare you? Check out TRADEPRO Academy every day. But yeah, it's good. It's good to be back on stream. Let me know if you guys have any questions here. But I like currently where we're at. Like, I think S&P might be a bit harder to buy, but like NASDAQ from these areas, I think there's still momentum higher, right? This positive delta here that's shaping up. I think that looking to continue longs from that region makes sense, right? You have a bunch of people that are getting absorbed on the sell to create momentum higher. NASDAQ like 120, 130 target upside makes sense, right? Where this negative delta comes in, something like this. S&P, if we can bid up here, maybe we get to that 74 with all that delta. Hell yeah, Ulrich, what's up? I don't know. I'm a pretty big fan of the buy side right now. After all those head fakes under that, like I got cut up a little in the morning, I'm not gonna lie. Right after all those head fakes under that region, the bid back up, back above this negative delta really cemented it, in my opinion. I find it weird that they rejected that like 110 so swiftly on Nasdaq. Like I think we're due for a nice pump. If you're shorting, watch out. Down to 3 on SPOOs here. Almost down to 3 on this NAS. I just dump it at market, whatever. Down to 3 on the NAS. I like it. I think we've got more momentum to the upside swing here. Like you see how this positive delta block holds, right? We finally move above it. Yeah, I need the background music. What's up, Miku? You see how that block of positive delta, right? I think it's a pretty solid probability trade when you're trying to identify how will the trend continue. Because I think one of the biggest mistakes, or I don't know if it's a mistake, but what everyone wants is like, okay, you get the expansion to the upside over here where the mouse is. You get the move into 0.70, then you pull back, and everyone's like, I don't know if I want to buy it, I don't know if I want to buy it, right? Maybe you don't buy it. The idea is get long into these areas after the expansion. Now, let's say you don't buy it, and you're like, okay, shit, what do I do now? What do I do now? I want to buy it. Now that it's expanded, then I want to buy it back into that area. Even if it came back into that area, a lot of people are not going to buy it. So what you can do is look at it and think, okay, well, where are the next areas of delta? Where's the next area of positive delta? You know that over here into 0.80, there was a lot of trouble, there was a lot of absorption before. So like when you actually get the move higher, you can see this huge block of positive delta. You get the move higher, that's going to be your pullback to see if you can continue that move, right? Target some of the negative delta over here, the 110 area, it's a pretty decent move right now. And then you're going to target the next negative delta area above. You can get above that 110 area, above that 120, like 130, 140 seems like a reasonable target. Same thing here, right? You have this cluster that sets up at like 68, 69 on SPOOs. That's going to be a main target area naturally. That's where I want to get out some. And then the next move is going to be towards that low 70. So you don't see the delta per level, instead you like it at the profile. Well, depends, Mario, because that's what I call delta per level, right? Like, what do you mean, every tick? Or because like the delta profile just gives me where the delta is at each of these spots. It's used as a guide to help me identify if people are absorbed or not. You also have this like great chart, in my opinion, over here. One of the mistakes that I made earlier on with today's session, right? Because when you come back into a distribution top, which in essence is like 0.40, 0.30, you want either a clean expansion under, which is like 50, 60 points, or you want to see if it head fakes. when these guys come in like this, all this heavy sell side, right, this negative delta, and you start pushing against it, that's absorption. So this is like absorption being created into these lows. And head faking below these areas, absorption, 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 right, absorption, absorption. So realistically, you just wait for things to settle out, see where the absorption is, and start trying to ping longs on this, right? You see the absorption right at that positive delta at 0.80 that just came about, right? It's giving you 30 points. Question is, can we expand a bit beyond that? Because right now there is a lot of absorption into that 110 from before. That's kind of failing right now. But like, bam, absorption, rebid, rebid. In the footprint chart, some people see the delta tick per tick. Yeah, like I'll look at the delta on the footprint as well, like on a candle basis. I'll look at both, right? But this is like when I look at the delta on the profile, it's like I see it as like a higher guideline as to where those areas of clusters are, than like pinpointing it a little more exactly from the footprint and where the delta gets clustered on the footprint. Have you considered adding gamma and chart levels to your trading? I've recently come across this question a lot. I feel like there's more people that are interested in that and ask me about that. And honestly, like, not really. The gamma levels that I do like to consider are going to be based on stocks, actually. I know that there's validity, but like it's just adding another thing that I don't necessarily need, because when I look at where the gamma levels are, generally, right, my distribution areas are the same, if not a bit better on a day-to-day basis. Like it pretty much I get to the same result, long story short. So it's just another thing that I would add for no real reason. I don't think there's anything bad with them, right? I think they're fine, I think they're great, but it's just like adding an extra thing that I don't necessarily need. Right? When it comes to like stocks and whatnot, I like it, right? Range delta footprint. 3-point range, S&P, 12-point on NASDAQ. Put the hat on because the hair keeps getting in my face, but I don't really want the hat on. Like when you have an area of absorption based on this chart, right? You see like the light blue lights up and then it gets smacked down. This is what creates the absorption, right? There's people against it coming in, trying to push against it. So you know that there's going to be some kind of resistance at that point. I want to look at everything as a whole, right? The big level, big picture idea of what's going on. So you had prior absorption over here into this like 0.80, 0.90. You had a bunch of positive delta. Prices drop. You come back above those areas. Now you're looking at them as support, right? You have this negative delta piece of absorption. We're generally bullish, so I want to lean to the upside from that 0.80. Yeah, there's absorption into this high, 100%, right? Over here is 110 on the NAS, but, you know, it's just a target point at that point, right? And that's going to be a target area. It's the same thing with the SPOOs today. You look at the SPOOs, what's going on, right? There's some absorption on the SPOOs here at like 62. Okay, maybe there's a trade there. The absorption starts off heavily when it reacts against this red stuff coming in here at like 44. You have an auction area at 44, 43. So it's an area that you might want to consider. Massive absorption here continuous. Target on this, right? Low 70s to begin with, and then we'll see what happens. But I like it. I like the continuation here. I don't know. I think this short might be a bit did. Options have the most amount of liquidity and therefore control. Yeah, like, listen, I don't have anything against gamma, right? Don't take it that way. I don't think that gamma levels, right, are bad, or it's like, oh, no, I don't use them because I'm better than them. No. It's just like I find it as another thing to add, which I'm not going to say clouds my judgment necessarily, but it doesn't benefit me really, to be honest. So I'm like, I've come up with the same stuff. Holy crap, Tesla got murdered today. After that news, it gaps up. It's down like 4%. What a load of crap. Mag 7 and big tech is, it ain't looking that great. If you got any other questions, I still like long continuation. I think we just tapped 110. You have a huge cluster of positive delta at like 119. That's probably going to be a target. I have 130 as an area. Let me show you something. Let me put you on some sauce. Let me find the other screen. Jeez, my bad. Okay, cool. Let me show you what's going on with this footprint, because this is the real. This is where you see things very intricately, tightly. The current gray zone's in the bottom of the current chart. See, I moved it, so I don't know, but I'll get back to it, and then we'll take a look at what that is. But let me just go through this quickly. So, thing is, right, when you have like a bunch of negative delta that's coming in trying to push prices through, right, and you start bidding back above it, so you start bidding back above these areas, these guys get trapped, right? You get these guys over here, they bid. These guys, yeah, okay, they're holding some resistance, but as long as you start to see a momentum move to the upside where there's continuous sellers that are getting trapped and buyers that keep coming in, these are going to be areas that you want to look at as massive supports. Even if they're like baby supports that step ladder higher, what you need to understand is that if there's going to be a reversal in price, you have to get through a lot of these, which good luck with that, right? When you get these guys over here that keep going up incrementally higher. When you have a seller like this, over here, these two stacks of like pretty fat sellers into the bottom of the rotation where they got absorbed, right? The worst thing that could possibly happen for these sellers is they bid right aggressively through it. That's your cue right there to look for the longs for the continuation higher, right? These guys getting absorbed like this is pretty big size on NASDAQ. You have a bunch of buyers over here to begin with at 0.85, right? That's the cue to look at this and think, okay, let them rip it higher. Because to turn this thing around, right, I can try to call the top several times over and over again, be like, oh, okay, they're failing here, let me sell 110. I don't know that. There's nothing really there. But even if I did, right, I come into a lot of support to the downside that's very immediate that would really decrease the potential of the actual move and trade. Let me go back to the other screen. Oh, this gray. Good question. What is that? What is this supposed to be? See, I don't even know. I don't know where this is from. Alright. Yeah, I couldn't tell you, but I'm probably going to have to look into it, because that's kind of weird. Again, right, to preface, I didn't make this chart. This is from Chris, from Trading Edge Resources, I believe, right? You can find him on Gumroad. You can find him in our Discord as well, in our free Discord, so if you want a little more intel. No, yeah, it's nothing I use, Travis. But like, if you want this chart, you know where to find it. Check out community.tradeproacademy.com. Is there gratis? This is Sierra chart. They use Sierra chart for execution, analyses, whatever it is, everything. I want the shorts to feel pain as this thing rips into the skies. Oh, I think this is a 5-minute opening range. Opening range low right here. How much you make today? None of your business. $1 billion, $1 trillion. I've taken 2 losses and 2 wins on NASDAQ. Taken 2 losses and 2 wins on S&P. 50%. But I'm up. So I'm kind of rejecting from this opening range low 5-minute. I was down on Monday. I had a red day on Monday. It wasn't huge, but it was a red day on Monday. My profitability is probably around like 50-ish%, 55%. Generally looking for 2-to-1, 3-to-1. So in the long run, realistically, that should equate to profit. I don't know. If someone makes like $10,000 today, what good does it do you? If you make $100 today, what good does it do you? The real question is like, why take these trades? What is it? What is it that you see that makes these solid trades? I don't know. That's just my opinion. Red day on Monday wasn't that bad, but red sucks. Like if I'm looking at this market right now, everyone just like wants to trade. Everyone just like wants to get into trades, and like sometimes I feel like that way too. I feel like it's a little rant. But if it doesn't set up properly, then like there's no real idea, right? Even if you're trying to find something to get into, you're just gonna have to wait, right? Now you're incrementally, continuously making higher highs. We talked about this setup right here as we were jumping on, right at the beginning of this call, at 0.80 with the positive delta, right? This is the long area. This is where you want to continue the longs. S&P as well into these 62s. Now at this point, you have higher highs continuous, right? If you believe in the long side, right, it's very aggressive, but into this like 0.95 area, you have this like positive delta here. This is the block that creates higher highs to continue the momentum. I don't love those setups, right? It's not the highest probability in my opinion. I'd rather trade the distribution extremes. But you're developing a B-shaped volume profile here on the session itself around that 0.95 top, right? It's starting to continue with this overall balance and like the drop off here, which is an important factor to consider. So you start making moves above that, right? I think that the upside opens up. Do we get back into the highs of day? I don't know, but I like 130, 140 for the target on NAS today. Could be very wrong. I got nerfed today in the morning. It's a part of it all. Let me know if you have any questions about specific things. I think this is a great time to talk about them because I'm not going to be doing anything else with this position, right? I think like I like upside, and that's about it. As long as we create higher lows here, right? There's opportunity to jump on the move. End of day bid, I like it. If it's a new all-time high, fantastic. I don't think so, but I think from these regions where the positive delta is stacking up right now, like you got that continuation potential. Do I look more at the session or daily profile? So I'm assuming that by daily you mean both ETH and RTH. To be honest with you, the main profiles that I look at are composite profiles, which are like 200, 300 days, like the weekly profile. And then in terms of individual session profiles, I'll take a look at the ETH before the RTH opens up. And then I'm only looking at the RTH profile towards the afternoon if there's going to be any kind of guidelines. Because now you have this B-shaped profile here on the screen, and the top band of that B balance, which is like 0.95 or something on NASDAQ, is going to be a tougher spot. So if you can expand above that, right, great. You have very little volume above that you can go through. But individual sessions, the current RTH, I'll only look at it as it's developed a decent amount of volume, meaning the like first 2 to 3 hours, let's say, of the session at least. I don't even know why I'm trying freaking Europa League scores. Who gives a shit? It's starting to get pretty slow, but even like S&P is kind of diverging a bit more bullish right now. You have absorption even into these like rotations when you're back above this delta block here. I don't love trading around the point of control, but it's actually shaping up here. Eh. Opening range low is proving a lot more difficult to break than I'd imagine. I don't know. Let's see. I would I would hazard a guess that the close is higher than we're trading right now. I I don't think we trade all time highs by the close, but I think that like 130, 140 Nasdaq is reasonable. Possibly like maybe 75 on the ES. I think those are reasonable targets to the upside into the close of the day. Little end of day rally, get things back to pumping higher. I'd just be rudely surprised when this thing just dumps. I don't think so, but as I say that, watch it just get nerfed. Very uneventful. The only idea that we had was the accumulation long from this area. Look at this pretty cool tool here. Look at that. So this is the general idea into that positive delta. Alright, see maybe if we can get to this block of negative delta somewhere there. It gives you the R to R, right? 1R, 2R, hit the 2R already based on the stop. And not that big of a stop, right? Maybe we say the stop was a bit wider. Right, you still hit the 2R. Even here, okay, now you're kind of close, further away from 2R. 17-point stop or so. As we keep holding both these positive deltas, I think there's RTY and IWM. What the hell did they do? Did they get faded as well? Every time I look at Tesla, I scream a little inside. RTY actually. Oh, you said the PM session, so you're probably talking about now. This thing ripped back up. Or maybe you're talking about last night. I don't know. Maybe it's now. Now it's PM. We're almost at those highs again on RTY. Wow, what a zipper. Oh my god. YWM as well. Or YWM. YM. YM actually broke the session highs. Fantastic. This little absorption over here, these guys to hold this positive delta around that 195, just zoop, 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 send it higher, send it to 130, please. Yeah, highs, all-time highs are tough to trade. I don't care what anyone says, it's a very tough market to trade into those highs, right? Because everyone is looking for both things without any logic behind it. What I mean is, like, there's a group of people that are looking for the all-time highs to continue and run higher. Then there's a group of people to look to fade them, right? So it's just tougher. The only information you have comes from the individual profile that sets up at those all-time highs. So you got to make do with what information comes about. More, higher, higher, more. What a boring pile of crap. Higher? I don't know. Guess the close of SPOOs and NASDAQ. And I don't know. You get some kind of prize that I'll think of later. Find me in Discord if you're right. Let's see. Zero said, what the hell? That's lower than it is now. 67.80. Yes, I like that one better. We can draw another one of these Arista rewards. What the hell is it? Ah, crap. Did that just nerf the other one? It's kind of dumb. I say the entry's somewhere here, right? 100. You don't have to risk too much. Come on. Target probably closer to this, like 140, 130. I think that's reasonable. Have a look at Discord. The World Cup Championship. Oh, God. I don't want to play those games, brother. Talk about it in Discord. I don't like stuff like that, like competitions and whatnot. It gets in my head. I'm just trying to trade the trade. Enough trouble as it is. But I think you should jump into it. Why not? Ulrich. Really, despite lack of the sellers aren't really doing. Yeah, they're not really doing much. It's just like passive continuous buying that keeps shaping up in this garbage. Like you get sellers that come in, they get absorbed, and they bid up a little higher, right? They struggle a bit. Boom, boom, boom. Shorting everything. The house is collateral. Oh shit! What's the thesis? There's a big short position. Actually, a lot of selling trying to come into these highs right now. Absorb them. I don't know. I do like higher, but that could change course here. Some of these sellers trying to hold offer. I think that we close somewhere closer to that 130 area, if I'm being honest. On NAS. Power hour, baby. Buy. Market go up only. Mag 7 is kind of on a stinker right now. You have Apple that's like not bad, right? It's pretty close to all-time highs actually. Microsoft just like can't hold a bid for its life. Tesla got absolutely destroyed today, right? Had some numbers this morning pre-market around 9 a.m. Eastern. It gapped up, and then you can see what happened. Amazon and Meta, they're my top two picks right now for swings higher. A lot of oversold momentum and absorption is taking place into these lows. Nice distribution blocks on both. I like them. Swing into all-time highs possibly. I don't think these highs are done. We made all-time highs before the week ended. Tomorrow's Friday. That means sell everything. We'll see. This is YM kind of failing. This is interesting. There's a lot of sell pressure coming into these highs now. On the Delta, you got a bunch of selling into about like 103 on this NAS. That's for now at least getting bid back up. It got super slow here. And with that, I think I'm going to call it. Yeah, I think I just call it a day here. I personally think it's going to go up into the end of the day, right? If it doesn't, then we could expect maybe some more downside on the overnight and going into tomorrow. Close maybe close to 130 on NAS, maybe a bit above 130. I like the idea of just absorption continuously pushing higher. Could be wrong. Friday's notoriously just getting nerfed. We got some pretty heavy downside today at the beginning of the day, just completely destroyed all that buying that happened overnight. So moral of the story is if you get like large expansions on the overnight, run away from them. They're probably not going to continue, at least in the morning session. So thanks for joining me today. Hope everyone had a fantastic afternoon in session. Trick your stuff into these highs, and we'll do it again next week. So I appreciate you guys.